Always so fun to watch that stream go from yellow, meaning you're almost live, to red, meaning they're watching you. Hey, it's me, it's Bob. I'm going to get right into it and try to skip my normal silliness. I want to tell you about something that is going on next weekend, but first I'm going to ask you a series of questions. We are live here, and if you want to say hello, that's great, but my intention is to keep this concise and to the point, uncharacteristic of most things that I do. I think we can all agree on that. So here's the first question. Now, I want you to think about your life now. We got to reset. I'm coming to you more in the capacity of Bob Doyle from The Secret, okay, than I am the host of the Bob Doyle Show. Okay? That's why I'm not in the Bob Doyle Show set. I don't want to confuse anybody, right? We're going to talk about this. So let's just try to remember that I did this thing called The Secret. I just did this other thing called How Thoughts Become Things. I've been talking a long time in a professional capacity about, creating a life by design. Whether it's the law of attraction, the way I've been teaching it for the most of this time, and the energy and the vibration and all of that cool metaphysical stuff. But then most recently, more the biology of our brains and how our brains create our reality. So here's the series of questions. Can we agree? Now I need you to stop what you're doing just for a moment, or at least give me a small percentage of your attention so that you can contemplate this question, because if you answer this question honestly, it actually opens the door to a whole new world. Can you agree that your experience of reality is 100% based on how your brain interprets all the input of your life? Said another way, your life happens to you, and if you're watching, please feel free to say yes or no. Your life is happening to you, things are occurring, events, things happening. Your brain is observing these things, and it's referencing your entire life to determine what meaning you're going to make out of these things. Are you going to enjoy it? Hi, Jane. Are you going to enjoy it? Are you going to hate it? Are you mad? Are you worried? Are you scared? All of these things, right? They're all a result of how your brain responds to your input. Can we agree on that? Jane, of course, is agreeing. She's heard this before a gazillion times. So this is for the other people. So now think about the implication of that. Your reality, everything about it, your beliefs and how you feel about things, all of it is based on how you are interpreting the input. Okay? So the meaning you give to everything determines how you feel about it, your emotional response, etc. And then that emotional response is a big part of how you be in the world. I just want you to follow the logic here and how it all eventually comes down to your brain. And so what is it that determines how you interpret the input, whether or not you're going to enjoy an experience or feel empowered or disempowered? What determines that? So can we agree? Do we all know enough about basic science these days to know that our brain is like a computer? It's not exactly a computer, but it is like a computer in that it is programmed from input that we're receiving. Okay, so you were born into an environment where you received totally different input than me. Your parents, your caretakers, whatever, they may have had completely different views on everything than mine did, right? So you're going to be fed all of that information, and they're going to form your belief systems, because your brain over here is literally going to get wired with neuro pathways. Are we on the same page? There's nothing woo-woo about this. None of this conversation is woo-woo or leap of faithist. It's just basic brain science that is common knowledge now. What I'm trying to get you to see is how it's all subjective, your experience. And so if you're interpreting your input, your reality, in a way that is disempowering, that causes you to take action, that keeps you in lack or any of that, or sickness, or all of these things, every action you take, every move you make, I'll be watching you, is determined by your wiring, which happened automatically. So are you with me so far? You were born basically with an empty hard drive that was filled. And based on that information, that determines your truth about everything, your reality, what is possible, what's impossible, not just in general, but for you. And then we also think about what's impossible for other people, and we're proved wrong all the time. All the time. And so we're shown repeatedly that our wiring and our perception of truth isn't necessarily the truth. But for some of us, we are so married to our wiring because it happens so unconsciously. It is just, to us, how we believe is just the truth. It just is, and there's no one going to tell us different, because their wiring is different. So they're looking at the world through a different lens. Are we all on board with that? What I'm trying to get at is this. If for any reason you are not 100% satisfied with your life or any aspect of it, it's going to eventually come down to your brain's wiring, because that is going to determine what action you take in the world. And it's through action that stuff gets done. Now, I'm not discounting all of the things I've taught before in terms of energy and sort of the invisible stuff that goes on. It absolutely is going on, but you don't need to know about it. And in fact, trying to figure it out is what the problem is for most people. Well, how am I going to get this? How is the universe going to deliver it? Hey, it's not your problem. Don't make it so, because you'll never figure it out. If you have to figure it out, you're going to use the resources that you have. You're going to make it so slow and inefficient. It's ridiculous. But you've got to first be a person who thinks in that way, who doesn't think limited, and so on and so forth. But so if your experience of reality right now, what life is to you, what truth is to you, is all based on your wiring. So if you're not happy with it, guess what needs to change? Your wiring. That is the point of reality creation, basically. When it comes in here and you make meaning out of it. This is the filter for everything. All of your limiting beliefs and all of your faith, everything goes through here. So if this isn't wired in a way that is going to serve you, I don't care how many programs you take, how many books you read, how many times you watch a movie, I don't care what you do. If you don't rewire your brain to act and be in alignment with a new way of being, you're always going to continue to attract, if you will, but have the same experiences because you're being the same. You're interacting with life the same way, so you're always going to get the same result. You may aspire for other things, but if you don't work on the wiring, if you just keep telling yourself why you can't do something and creating that wiring, making that even stronger, then of course nothing's going to change. So, all of that to say, if you can recognize that your wiring is the bottleneck, basically, and the good news is you can change it because it was created through the very mechanism that you will use to change it. Neuroplasticity, the ability for the brain to change. But we've been going on autopilot most of our lives, and that's why we are where we are, and it just seems like truth. We never evaluated anything. But if you want to do something different, if you want to be something different, if you want to have something different, we have to start rewiring the brain so that you will then consistently act and be in alignment with the person who will attract these things or accomplish these things, whatever word you want to use. But if you want different results in the world, you're going to have to be a little bit different than the way that you've been being. Hi, Sonova. Thanks for the thumbs up. So all that to say, and I've been talking about this for a while. I had a webinar floating around out there about rewiring, uses this graphic, the whole thing, because I'm quite passionate about it because it is so accessible. There's no freaking leap of faith that you need to take. I don't need to explain law of attraction to people to help them. Do you understand what I'm saying here? It's great when people are on board with the law of attraction conversation because you'll understand a little bit more about how this works and why you don't need to understand every little piece of it and all of it. But you can wire yourself literally to be a person who doesn't need to understand every freaking detail. you can do that. You can create whatever version of yourself you want, but there are certain steps you have to take. The first of which is knowing who that person is that you want to be, and making sure that desire to be that person is driven on expansive ideas and abundant ideas, and not ideas based on lack or challenges that you've had. Right? I want to create from a different space. So next weekend, I'm doing a 4-hour workshop. Now look, I don't come on here that much and say, hey, I'm doing this thing that I want you to pay for access for. I really don't. We just have fun here. But this is the stuff you've got. No matter what you are going to take on in terms of learning, your brain first, that's the gatekeeper. So you have to be ready to receive it. Otherwise, as soon as you get uncomfortable with new information, because it's part of the growing process, you will find a way to stop yourself. And if you've ever run into, or you find yourself self-sabotaging or whatever, that's all it is. It's just wiring. You're not wrong, you're not broken. You've reached the limit of your wiring, and it's time to expand it and change it. Like if this wiring isn't serving you, it's time to let those neural pathways die off. How do you do that? By giving attention to new ones and literally letting those wither on the vine. So next week, I'll point the right direction at some point. We're doing this 4-hour workshop, and we're going to walk you through the process. Now, obviously, we can't be there every day, which is, this is all about consistently new thoughts. But this workshop will give you the tools and the approach and help you to understand this is where I want to go and this is why. And ideally, we get you to a point where you're so excited about it that you will do what's necessary to do the rewiring. Right? I mean, there's always ongoing coaching you can do after that if you want. And of course, I recommend it. But the workshop is not about that. The workshop is a standalone thing where I'm going to give you these tools. Now, here's the thing. This workshop was put together as part of the Hypnobiz Global Virtual Summit, which starts tomorrow. And what they're doing is, I put it together for them, and then I was going to basically share it independently too. But here's what I'd like you to do, because what they're doing is there's 2 deep dive sessions you can, if you choose to do the Hypnobiz Global Virtual Summit, and I'm going to point to another video that is a shorter video than this, where I talk to Selena Valentine about what the Hypnobiz Summit is and why you would want to attend. Okay. Now, if you purchase the ticket for the Hypnobiz with my deep dive included, it's all included. Basically, you get the Hypnobiz ticket for free. I didn't say that very well, but let's see if I can click the right button here. So this is the Hypnobiz webpage. If you go to bobdorshow.com/hypnobiz, this describes the event, and I highly recommend you watch this, especially if you are a business owner of any kind, not just a hypnotherapist, okay? So these are all the details about that, and these are all the people you'll be learning from. This is access to a ton of information that you have access to for a whole year. I'm basically saying this is like a free bonus. This whole summit is like a free bonus if you do the deep dive, but you just have to get the deep dive through this. So you go to this page, bobdorshow.com/hypnobiz, get the ticket for the deep dive, then you'll have access to this, which starts tomorrow, and you start learning all of that stuff. I'm doing the keynote, so you'll hear from me right away. And then next Saturday, we would all get together for this Rewire Your Brain workshop. It's Rewire Jumpstart. I love saying jumpstart in things. And that's what it is. It's going to be a Rewire Jumpstart where it's a hands-on, I can't find my mouse, hands-on thing, one-on-one coaching, the whole thing. So that everybody who attends is really super clear by the end what they need to do next, and on an ongoing basis if they in fact want to rewire their brain. Now, took me how long to say all that? I don't know, however long it took. A lot longer than I thought, but I just wanted to be thorough. I just can't stress it enough. This whole brain thing, if you get nothing else from what I'm saying, this is the bottleneck. It's how you're interpreting things. It's the meaning you're giving things. The limits you're putting on yourself are just wiring. They're not true. They're just wiring. They're not true. They seem true to you because you're on the inside looking through this lens you've wired. And yet there's people all over the place who are wired differently and see different possibility in the same situation you're looking at. Why is that? Because they're wired differently. Can you achieve that ability to see situations differently, more empowering, more creatively? Yes, you can. And that is what this is about. Okay. Are there any questions? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. No questions? 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 116, 17,470. No questions. Well, I must have explained that awesomely. Well, that's par for the course, am I right? All right, look, that's all I wanted to do. Tracy and I are going to go live a little bit later. Remind you about tomorrow's Bob Doyle show, Music Monday. We do have a guest, Mark Romero. And then a couple of other things. So we'll see you a little bit later, but thank you for your attention on this. If you know anybody who could use this information, please feel free to pass it along to them. I'd love the opportunity to serve in this way. All right, everybody enjoy the rest of their Sunday or whatever day of the week you're watching this. And we'll talk again in just a bit, okay? Promise. All right.